Submission is difficult, as we talked about in the previous video. How can men or husbands help their wives submit? In other words, how can men make things easier for women to submit, seeing as it's a very difficult thing and it doesn't always come naturally?
So interestingly, I think a lot of men feel like they have to assert themselves dominantly in order to get that result of of their wives submitting. But actually, women tend to find that threatening, off putting, and probably overly aggressive because masculinity can actually, how can I put this gently? It's like a conversation for a different video. But a lot of men don't even realize how their masculinity can come across if they're not careful. It's not ill intended at all. It's just that how you behave with a man, how a man behaves with a fellow man is different than how he ought to behave with a woman. He might yell in a certain way, like raise his voice, let's say, in a certain way with his male friends, and they're just, hanging out and nobody's taking anything personal and they just understand that's how we talk to each other or whatever. But he may use that same tone of voice or that same volume, let's say, with his wife, and she's like immediately either threatened or offended. He like genuinely didn't mean harm by it, or he wasn't raising his voice out of anger necessarily. That's just like, sort of normal to him. So he has to be aware of himself in that way. This is another topic, like I said, but I'll get into it just a tad bit. Like another example, your physical strength as well, right? Men, like, you don't even realize how physically strong you are. I've seen Thomas do this. Like go to grab something, a knob or whatever, or turn something and you break it without even like intending to or realizing that you were like maybe fidgeting with the thing with that much strength, right? Men are stronger physically than women and they like to use their strength, right? To, let's say in athleticism or whatever. And when they're with other men, it's not a big deal. They can maybe push each other or, be a certain kind of aggressive, even when they're playing sports or whatever. But they can't be that level of aggressive with a woman because they don't even realize how strong they are and how strong they're coming across. And women are more delicate. So, anyway, you have to be mindful of that. And so, going back to the question, using your masculinity and like being authoritative in a way of like dominating, like to get your woman to submit, is not really going to be the best course of action. I actually think quite the opposite. Using tenderness and meekness is going to get you a much better result. Women, like I said, are even if they don't act this way, right? Because sometimes women can act a little bit, I don't know if I can say mannish or I don't know, aggressive, alpha, whatever you want, whatever word you want to use. They may act that way, but ultimately, on average, women are more delicate and the weaker vessel, as the Bible puts it, as compared to men. And so using tenderness is a good approach. When I say tenderness, what do I mean? It's really showing a lot of care and concern for your wife, It's caring about how she feels, caring about what she has to say, what her opinion is. It's treating her kindly. It's constant reassurance, It's security, providing her security. And I'm not just talking about physical security, but like emotional security, right? Those are the things that will make her trust you. And when she trusts you, then she'll be interested, she'll want to submit to you, or she'll have an easier time submitting to you. Now, another thing is I think that women and people in general submit easier to people who they admire. So, are you a respectable person, right? Are you an admirable person? What do you do that's admirable, right? It's not just about like being a soldier, joining the military. Like we know veterans are honorable or whatever. We give them their flowers and we honor them. But it's not just about physical strength, right? Like you can show your good character, right? That will demonstrate something admirable to a person or to your wife. So the kind of person that you are, your character, your integrity, that also speaks volumes to a woman. If she admires who you are, she'll also trust your judgment a lot more and be willing to submit to you.